think there's a way forward that's now finally being painted. Would have been better if, this was being done within our borders, because a lot of our people suffered significant losses as a result of this crime that was done. In as much as a lot of assets were attached, it's not clear as yet if they have been sold as yet to satisfy the debt that arose as a result of the fraud. But at least we are one step closer to something happening towards the perpetrators.
And the collapse against the Steinhoff took place at least 5 years ago, Nthabiseng. As much as this is now taking place in Germany, how important is this matter for South Africa?
It is very important. If you are aware, we also form part of international law and also part of the ICC, that this applies in this situation. But what applies would be that of international law. So our country actually recognizes cases that were decided in various countries, even though most of the time it is just for reference purposes to see what happened in other cases and see if that can be used in the development of our law through our cases that happen here. But this particular case involved a crime that is cross-border, one that affected German citizens who had invested in Steinhoff and also our country's citizens who had invested in same. So the result of that outcome, the outcome of that case, I beg your pardon, would then influence how then, I suppose, then our country would then go ahead, especially with the criminal charges against Markus Jooste and all other, perhaps the trustees that were involved in the Steinhoff Trust and everybody else who can be pinpointed in this, because I believe when we look at 5 years ago versus now, we hope at least that the investigation process will be a lot more pleasant and we have a lot more expertise who can look into these kind of things and formulate a proper charge against the accused persons.
And if you can look at the kind of charges he is facing in Nthabiseng in Germany, what's the possibility, if you can just take us through those charges firstly, and also just the possibility of actually seeing Markus Jooste going behind bars?
From what I can gather, based on the German criminal code, it seems that they're basing most of their charges under Section 5, subsection 7, which is crimes committed abroad that affect businesses within the country of Germany, right? So as a result, we're looking at the money. What is this charge? Why is it escaping me? But it is fraud. I believe there is a bit of money laundering there. I may be mistaken. But based on that particular section, it deals with issues wherein the actions of a person, albeit they're not a citizen of German descent, but their actions affected a business within the German borders. Therefore, they are required to answer to the court in German court in order to satisfy the crime that was there and pay for it in that instance. So as a result, we are looking at more or less the kind of charges that they possibly could face this side, maybe even more when they come back. But be that as it may, the ones that they're definitely looking for is fraud and theft, which go hand in hand as a result. And then I think they're going to try and attach that of money laundering because of the kind of investments that were made under false pretense in this regard.
And Nthabiseng, if you could, paint us a scenario, when you look at the charges he's facing in Germany, and then should that then come to South Africa, what would be the possibility then of him facing, charges in both countries and ultimately then going behind bars? What would then be the scenario for him to actually serve time for the crimes he has committed?
In the event he's found guilty in the German criminal court, and let's say the sentence is that of imprisonment, it would have to be discussions between the two countries whether he can be extradited from that country in order to face criminal charges this side as well. Or it could be an agreement wherein perhaps there could be a discussion between the Department of Justice in our country and a discussion with the Department of Justice that side, wherein the charges that he's facing can accommodate those that he would possibly be facing this side. And then the sentence that he is then given could possibly contain that he would face this on South African soil. That could be one possibility. But if the extradition area is open, then he can come here whilst he is under arrest, so to speak, or found guilty in Germany, and then he can face his prosecution this side. But unfortunately, on our soil, once you appear as a first appearance, you have the option to apply for bail. So it will have to be another situation wherein there are special circumstances that are explained to the court to say this particular accused person, the state is opposed to bail, and we request that the court do not entertain the issue of bail, even though it is a guaranteed right in the Constitution. So that would be a very difficult area to try and overcome should he be brought back to our country.
And, looking at the charges he faces in Germany, when you look at the time somebody can spend behind bars, are you able to give us an indication, should he be found guilty of these crimes, what time can he look at behind bars?
I wasn't able to see the kind of sentence that goes with violating Section 5, subsection 7 of the Criminal Code of Germany. But if we were to look at our law, we are looking anywhere between 15 to 25 years, based basically more on the quantum that we are dealing with here. Because remember, these kind of sentences in terms of the General Law Amendment Act in our country, if you commit a theft crime or a fraud crime, certain amounts warrant you getting a caution and discharge because it's that minute, and then there are quite high quantums that then warrant you spending between 10 to 15 years up to 25 years in prison based on the quantum that is involved. So with this particular case, he could be facing a situation where he could spend his entire life in prison. I hope that would be the same thing in the German state.